Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel in the first place. Today we have a Sero X listener. It's Hand in Hand by Fiction Please on AO3. The link will be in the description, and let's go ahead and get into it. They won't find you here. You'd just been pulled into a closet, a dark one with a single light bulb. There were metal shelves that showcased scattered cleaning supplies, leaving the air laced with the scent of bleach. You realized half of your arm was covered in a strip of tape. Pulling it off didn't hurt as much as you would have thought. Sero looked on, under the dim light from above. 1 second, you were wandering anxiously down the hall, trying to find anywhere to hide, when the next you were yanked away. His lips turned up. "You're welcome." You jumped, not realizing he was so close. It was a tiny closet. "Thanks, Hanta." You threw away the ball of tape and sat across from him. "Probably would have gotten caught if you hadn't intervened. I'm not so great at this game." He nodded teasingly. "I noticed." You hit his shoulder playfully. "Glad to see how supportive." Your sentence got cut off by his palm against your mouth. You raised an eyebrow and he took back his hand, shushing you silently. The sound of voices from outside connected the dots for you. It got louder along with the sound of their footsteps. "Have y'all checked the supply room?" Mina's high voice cut through the others. Your eyes widened, realizing what was about to happen. Only thinking of not getting caught, you jumped over to Sero, putting your arms around his neck. He instinctively wrapped his arms around your middle. The air seemed to ripple as you flipped your quirk on. It created a mirage of sorts, an illusion to anyone unaware. You could only keep it going for a couple of minutes before small mistakes in the image would show through. The sound of the door clicking open had you holding your breath. His fingers wrapped around the fabric of your shirt, making your heart race more than you'd like to admit. His eyes watched as Mina and Kirishima popped their heads in, scanning the small room. Not seeing the two of you wrapped up, they shrugged and closed the door again. This was just one of the many facets of your quirk, one that taxed you too much for comfort. So when they left, you let out a deep breath. Your body slumped against his, head lolling on his shoulder. Your voice was soft, too tired and afraid they'd hear to speak any louder. "Mind if I just stay here a bit longer?" Your chest moved up and down, heart slowing with each steady breath. Your head began to pound traitorously. The smell of his clean shirt tamed the pain, though, made it almost non-existent. "Of course, no worries." His hands stayed on you, now tracing soft circles on your back. The outside sound of voices faded with time. When you felt the strength seep back into your bones, you leaned back, yawning. Realizing you might have dozed off on him, you scooted away with a laugh. "Sorry, I didn't mean to use you as a pillow." He shook his head, waving your concern away. "I'd be your pillow any day," he stammered, mind catching up to his mouth. I mean, no problem." You covered a chuckle, rubbing the leftover tiredness from your eyes. His phone chimed, the flash lighting up the room. He pulled it out and sighed at the screen. Frowning, he motioned to it. "Everything okay?" He scratched the bridge of his nose. A tell you've caught on to by now. He was about to lie. "Yeah, I'll just text back later." He sat forward, pulling your knees to your chest. You're now invested. Spill, Hanta." You'd been best friends since middle school, and somehow got put into the same class again in high school. He knew you better than most of your other friends, and vice versa. When you became friends with Kirishima, Mina, Denki, and Katsuki, you did too. It was great to have a friend group, but lately they had been hanging out without you two. He shrugged. "It's Denki again. He's trying to make me feel better by inviting me to a movie with them tonight." Your face lit up. "That sounds fun. You don't want to go?" It took a lot for you to be upset with your friends. Being the non-confrontational person you were also pretty introverted, so when they hung out without you, it wasn't a big deal. He didn't answer, instead focusing on the lonely flickering light bulb. You avoided his gaze, asking a question, but being afraid of the answer. "What if we go together?" His demeanor flipped immediately, lighting up at the idea. "Let's do it. I think it's at 8. We can meet up before?" You nodded, smiling. The speaker blared, interrupting you two. Present Mike's voice rang out. "Okay, students, the time limit has officially run out. Everyone's still hiding. Please head back to your classrooms for your winning prize." Getting back to the classroom, it turned out that you two were the only ones who lasted without getting caught. Mr. Aizawa was leaning against his desk, barely reacting when you walked in. When you two got close to him, he held out 2 cards. They were gift cards. The one you got was for your favorite boba place. Leaning over, you saw Sero's was for his go-to merch shop. Thanking Aizawa, you sat back down at your desk. Sero shot you a grin from his seat, waving his card in the air. You gave a small smile, barely waving yours back at him. Later that day, there was a knock at your dorm door. You threw what you had in hand onto your bed. Opening a crack, Hanta raised his eyebrows. You forgot how loud your speakers were. Music always made getting ready a lot more fun. Leaving him to walk in, you went to turn down the dial, the music quieting. He closed it behind him, standing awkwardly. You laughed, nodding to the bed. "You can sit. I'm almost ready to go." You tossed some loose earrings onto your desk, picking out 2 pairs. You showed him one from each. They hung in the air between your fingertips. "Actually, help me choose." One was a yellow smiley face, but it was distorted, the smile hanging too much on one side. The other was an outline of a red cherry. You showed off each of them, pretending to pose for a dramatic front-page picture. He pointed to the wavy smile. You put it on, finding the matching one in your pile. "Good choice. I was actually thinking the same thing." Finally done, you slipped on your shoes. Following him downstairs, you could hear the group's laughs and teasing float up to you. Before you reached a landing, you reached out and grabbed his arm. He turned around, confused. You kept your eyes on his. "If you want to leave, tell me and I'll think of an excuse, okay?" His eyes looked from where your friends were, back to you. He gave a nod. "Okay." For having black eyes, they never appeared soulless or without emotion. They always gleamed with life. So when he said okay, you knew he meant it. Just from them. Mina ran up to you as soon as she caught sight. "Hey listener, great job on winning the game earlier. Never would have guessed you were in that closet." You froze mid-hug. No one was told where you two had been hiding. When she saw your confusion, she winked. Of course, Mina, the cupid of the group, would turn a blind eye when she saw you wrapped over Sero. You could have sworn the mirage was strong enough to block it out. But maybe not? You playfully punched her shoulder, your cheeks turning red. "So?" His rumble of a voice made you flinch. "Mina told us y'all were making out in the closet." Katsuki sat on the couch, popcorn in his lap, arms crossed. He had been your designated older brother since coming to UA, even if he'd never actually say it. Kirishima stepped in front of him, nervous smile plastered on his face. "Bakugo doesn't know what he's saying, don't mind him." Katsuki reached over to toss Ejiro out of the way, and it resulted in a mock fight. You sighed, taking Bakugo's popcorn bucket, and sat down on an empty seat. Sero sat on the couch across from you, making conversation and acting like the charming guy he is. Mina spoke louder than everybody else, getting your attention. "Okay, movie time." Her words ended in a sing-song voice. With the press of a button, it began. Someone shut off all the lights, the TV screen illuminating the room. Mina sat next to you, whispering something crazy was going to happen and grabbing your arm when there was a jump scare. Denki provided funny commentary that Kirishima and Sero fed off of, and Katsuki sat in silence. You caught his grins every once in a while, when there were some heavy action scenes. You grabbed a piece of your popcorn and threw it at him. His head flipped around, but you pretended to be focused on the TV. He saw through you and threw one back, harder and faster than you did. It hit you square in the forehead. You flinched, grabbing it and popping it in your mouth. He rolled his eyes and you accepted your small victory. The movie ended and you decided to stay up later just to hang out. At the end of a story Kirishima was telling you, you caught Sero's eye. His smile faltered for a second, and you looked down to see his hand shaking around his soda can. You straightened, taking a deep breath, yawning. Man, I don't think I can stay up any longer. They all started yawning, and your plan was set in motion. You said your goodbyes to everyone, and halfway up the stairs, you turned around, feigning surprise. Oh, Hanta, you left your charger in my room the other day. You kept talking, but made your way up the stairs. Better come and get it before I keep it for myself. You heard him quickly saying his goodbyes, and his steps were soon in sync with yours. Neither of you said anything until behind your dorm door again. Starting to take off your accessories, he watched and sat on your bed. Thanks, my mental battery was running out. You gave him a reassuring smile. Consider it a thanks for saving me earlier. He smiled back, confidence showing. Oh, that old trick, it was nothing. He waved it away exaggeratively. Even with his confident words, you still saw him wring his hands. You saw as his foot tapped on the wood floor without stopping. You saw as his eyes got more and more droopy, but noticed that his heart was beating too fast for sleep. Another fun facet of your multi-gifted quirk. Taking a second to think, you decided to plain out ask. It went well the first time, why not give it a go again? You feel like having a sleepover? Tomorrow was school, and you didn't really want to see him half asleep during class. It wouldn't hurt too bad, and who said that you wouldn't sleep better next to him too? He looked surprised, but relieved. Sure. You grabbed your laptop and put on one of your favorite YouTubers. Their constant talking kept the awkward silence from creeping in. Laying back in bed, you gave the empty side a pat. He leaned over, stiffly settling beside you. You laughed, pulling him over. Acting like a hostage much? He laughed, allowing you to get him closer. His arm went around you before he could stop it, and you found that you didn't want him to move it. His body loosened, and you could feel his heart rate slow. The warmth radiating off of him pulled you into sleep too. You floated off to the soft sounds of his breathing and the far voices coming from your laptop. Alright, that's the end of this one. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, whatever. Goodbye!